Elicitors unite.
Oh God, let's hope we don't have another, like we had a little issue with lag last week, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. We'll see what happens.
Your title still says Crisis on Infinite Earths live after party.
Yeah, I know. It's stupid YouTube. Stupid YouTube. Anybody clicking on this is not the Crisis on Infinite Earths after party. This is literally the week after Crisis. Although we are going to talk about Crisis a little bit, I'm sure. But anyway, what's up? The Green Arrow is in the house. We have Canada Graphs. We have Homeless Tuna. Giovanni ×2. Joe Malia. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. So what's up? Clifford DeVoe in the house. Yes. Praise the legacy of Oliver. Amunet Black. First thing for Savateric. Do you think Legends was good this week and Arrow?
Trying to get into you early on.
Right away, immediately. They're trying to get to me. So yeah, the title is wrong, but it's always like a week behind. I need to come up with something generic, so it'll update after the video goes live. So if you're watching this video on playback and it still says something about Crisis, have no fear. We're going to talk about Crisis, but that's not what this whole video is about. I'm in the house with Pagey. This is the after party. Hello, Pagey.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about all the shows briefly, primarily focusing on the backdoor pilot for Arrow, which we'll save that for the
Drama.
end. Even though chronologically it aired before Legends, we're going to talk about Legends first. So
it's not static. It's my fan because it's hashtag boiling hot, but I'll turn it off and suffer.
Hello, Laura E., part of Team Airrick. You look cool with that unique little badge there. If you guys are interested in getting that badge, you see the thing on this side. Which way is it? It's over here, that arrow. That's a diagram. You can join and get the unique badges, the emotes that will be debuted next week, as well as a couple of private videos for the Team Airrick members only. Thank you so much for the support. Giovanni says he skipped Arrow. Okay, fair enough. What's up,
I had a lot of people saying that, and they were just looking for I think they're just going to look up clips on YouTube and stuff. Yeah, I will keep my fan on.
Victor D. Chinchilla with a $4.99 super chat out of the gate with a question about Crisis, which I guess is it's on trend because that's what the title of the video is. It says, how many Earths are combined on Earth Prime and how can all these Earths fit into one Earth? Oh, that's a great question. Number one, I think it's only like the Earths that we know about, maybe. The ones that, like the characters that we see all the time, like which would be Black Lightning, Supergirl, and the people from Earth 1. I think that's the case, but a couple things, like they may change that up a little bit based on what happened on some of the shows this week. So, yes. We'll go ahead and start off talking about Batwoman, I guess. We're going to go through these. Well, first, let's talk about what's going on. We don't have a lot of time, but Pagey, were you excited for any show for this week? Like, which one of these shows were you the most interested in? Because Flash is gone for another 3 weeks. So
I was probably intrigued most by Supergirl, but I had a feeling just because they talked about it that something was going to happen on Batwoman. And I didn't know what it was going to be specifically because in the trailer that they released post-Crisis, like after Crisis aired last week, it had a vampire in it. So I was like, okay, is that in this episode?
Right.
But a lot of the trailers had like 3 episodes.
Yeah, that screwed me up too when I did my
outside of I think the Arrow one and I think the Supergirl one. I think the Arrow and Supergirl ones were just one episode, but all the other ones had like multiple episodes in it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, is the vampire in this episode or not? And then it was obviously the ending thing. The Batwoman episode itself was pretty average. It was arguably maybe one of the weaker ones. But the ending was something that they needed because I've been saying since Batwoman started, every episode's just been average. Like it's been within the realm of like 6.5 to 7.5 out of 10 if you're going to give it a rating.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest issue is that with a show, whether it's your first season or 5th season, you need a hook. And they never had a hook.
Right.
But that hook came in episode 10.
Yeah.
Is it late? It's late, but it's still a hook.
What's up, Markel? Thank you so much for joining us. Another member of Team Airrick over there. Thank you so much.
I think that's like the thing that they needed and they got it. The big question is whether it's late or not, but people heard about it and they were like, okay, well, I've stopped watching Batwoman episode 5, and they said, well, I might catch up then.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and segue into Batwoman from your comments there, because I have a lot to say about Batwoman. I already recorded my review for it, but I have not uploaded it yet because I wanted to get Supergirl out first. I felt more passionate.
Well, just quickly, Staggerville wrote Batwoman's ratings fell to a series low this week. So did Supergirl's.
Yeah.
But there was football on. There was like a big final thing, so they're irrelevant. Those ratings are irrelevant. And also...
the ratings don't really matter too much for Batwoman anyway, because it's got a deal.
Well, honestly, the ratings don't really matter too much for the CW anyway, because they don't really give a crap about live ratings by the look of it. I heard they make 4 times as much off a streaming view than they do off a live view. Yeah.
Also, I think, like, the takeaway I think from the early renewals this year tells you that I don't think it's easy to predict what the CW is going to do with shows, because they're not just looking at the live ratings apparently. So,
and yeah, like they really don't care now. And also with HBO Max coming in, like every show that now starts on the CW is now an HBO Max streaming show. So it's going to be, you have to like really stuff up to be cancelled.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. So speaking of that, we're going to segue into Batwoman, and I believe I'm trying to memorize these titles. I usually do show notes, but I really didn't this week because there was no Flash and no actual Arrow episode, so I was kind of in just whatever land. But I believe it was called How Queer Everything Is Today. I think that was the title of the episode. It was episode 10.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, I did my review of it, and I just want to throw this out there, and I know I'm probably going to catch some blowback on this. I know this is probably controversial, whatever. Batwoman is like, I see, and I did this and I probably shouldn't have done this, but I went on YouTube and I Googled Batwoman and I was looking for reviews of the show, like up until the mid-season, sort of like trying to figure out like what everybody else was thinking of it before I did my review today. And there is a lot of people that just really hate the show, and I don't understand why they hate it so much. Because if you're talking about an accurate representation of a comic book character, I think this version of Batwoman is pretty spot on in terms of look and at the core of the character, who it is. I mean, there's obviously some changes because it had to be on the CW and they can't use the whole Bat family, etc. But I just don't understand why there's so much hate directed towards the show, because it's just an average show. There's a lot of shows worse than Batwoman. And I'm watching this episode and I'm like, okay, yeah, the episode is just okay. I mean, but the show isn't doing anything, I think, that is warranting all of this hate. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just one of those things that, and I think a lot of the people that, well, not a lot of people, but I think there's definitely a crowd that are literally just saying that the show's bad because they got triggered by the trailer. And there's still a false rumor going around that they reshot the pilot because of the bad response from the trailer. And I'm like, do they realize that press, hundreds and hundreds of press, got the exact same pilot episode before that trailer came out? About an hour before that trailer came out, press, hundreds and hundreds of press got that pilot episode. It's the exact same one they showed at Comic-Con. It's the exact same one they showed on October, whatever it was, when it debuted. There's false just rumors going around about the show, and then apparently there's an agenda on Batwoman. I'm still yet to figure out what
I can't figure out what it is either. Here's the thing, right? So, and I'm going to get your super chat in just a second, Gary. Do not worry. So people are saying it's badly written. I'm not going to disagree and say that the episodes are like this great, well-written TV show, right?
Shakespearean or something.
So
like
here's what I'm going to say about this, and then I'm going to toss it out to everybody, because if you really think about it, it boils down to people just wanting to be angry at the show, right? Because when I didn't like Legends at the end of last season, I stopped reviewing it. If you guys remember, like halfway through the season, I was like, I'm not enjoying the show anymore. So I stopped reviewing it. I would talk about it in live streams. That's the most you would get out of me. And then I would do like a season overview or a video here and there, maybe about some news on the show. But I didn't want to watch it because I didn't like the show. I didn't like it. So if you don't like Batwoman, why are you still watching it 10 weeks in? I don't understand. Yeah. There are channels that literally watch the show because they hate it. Why would you do that to yourself? That doesn't make any sense to me At all. If you don't like something, just don't watch it. The show is an average show. There's no agenda on it because the character is literally lifted from the comics and put into live action. Everything that happened on this week's episode with the whole lesbian angle and all that, those are things that I expect to see on the show. I expect to see that on the show. If she was doing something that felt out of place, I would go, you know what, I hate that. But the fact is that she's doing what she would do in the comic books. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like the show, fair enough. But if you're watching it every single week just to complain about it, you have extra time that I don't have. Like,
well, I think if that's the case and you're watching it, even though you still dislike it, you're the problem. The show's not the problem. You're the problem. You got something wrong in your head.
Right.
Like, you are a bit messed up. Like, it's definitely not normal behavior.
Yeah.
Definitely not normal. Like, it's definitely odd.
Okay, so here, another thing that I want to bring up. If you're making 3 videos a day on how much you hate Batwoman, you really need to come up with new content. I'm sorry. Like, there's a lot of things I don't like on the CW. Well,
and I've said this before,
I don't make videos about it 3 and 4 times a day. Sorry. Like, it just...
Yeah, but I think you would agree when I say this. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would agree with this. It's easier to be negative than it is to be positive.
It is. I've fallen into that before. I get crap for just criticizing a storyline on a show. You know?
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, so people mad about the fact that she is a lesbian character on a show. That's what she is in the comics. Like, if you're mad, I can see being mad if they flipped it around or changed something about her, but they didn't really. And that's the thing. Fair enough. I'm not telling you guys that you have to like the show. I'm just saying right now, I feel like if you haven't been watching the show and you didn't like it in the first or second episode, give it another shot, see what you think, because the show is like a lot of shows. Their first season, they're having a lot of stumbling. And it, like, arguably Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1 is one of my least favorite shows ever, like least favorite seasons of a show. I absolutely hate it. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. went on to be a great series. So if Batwoman is having stumbling now, it may come back at the end of the season. It may get better in the next season. But if you don't like it, fair enough, you don't like it. I just don't understand the hate watching and all this stuff about this agenda. You know, this week's episode, like you said, it got an injection at the end of the episode. We find out that now there's an Alice and there's a Beth. And I think this makes the show a million times more interesting. And it actually makes me excited for the series now. Like, I'm actually going to tune in, curious to what's going to happen. I think Crisis was the best thing to happen to Batwoman.
Yeah, but someone said here, like, Joe Smijon, I don't know how that's pronounced. They went, DJ Airrick, you should take your own advice in regards to how you react to Mia being the new Green Arrow. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But there's a difference there. That's a writing choice that they've purposely put into the show.
Yeah.
To swap it up a bit. This is Batwoman from the comics,
right?
So you're having an actual issue with the source material, not like, you know what I mean? Like, that's an absolute writing choice.
No.
That's like saying, oh, if you didn't like Mia and Arrow, then you should have stopped watching Arrow. But I don't watch Arrow for Mia. I watch Arrow for Oliver, and Mia hijacked
right,
it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That was the complaint about Mia.
I totally get it. And here's the thing. If you're in the business of reviewing CW shows, I'm going to throw this out there. It's probably going to be controversial. I don't give a damn. If you're in the business of reviewing CW shows and you're doing a video criticizing something on the CW, fair enough. But if your channel is about video games, Star Wars, and a bunch of other stuff, and you randomly throw in hate videos for Batwoman, you have an agenda. I'm just going to say it. If you're making only Batwoman videos, hate videos, and there's all these other great shows that you could be talking about on the CW, and your whole entire channel is stacked up around Star Wars and all these other things, then you're clearly doing it for hate clicks, and I question your reason for doing it. Do you really care that much? Do you really care that much about Batwoman that you have to dedicate 3 or 4 videos a day, 6 and 10 videos a week about how much you hate the show? You don't. And if you really cared about something, like, these channels never do videos about stuff that they like. You don't ever see them do videos. It's always hate content. And I'm like, I don't understand.
Or if there is anything somewhat positive in the video, they'll still give it a negative title to attract the views in.
Yeah. I mean, it would be the equivalent of me doing a video about the Kardashians. Like, if the Kardashians did something stupid and all of a sudden I did like 3 videos a day for Kardashians. Like, then it would be like, why are you doing this? To be honest,
I think we all actually want that. So if you could organize that for some future videos, I'd love to see that.
I'll get right on that. Lime Green Hulk 24. I'm not going to get on here and start naming names because you guys know the channels I'm talking about. I don't have to call them out. And honestly, I'm not going to give them any more publicity for what they're doing. Because
wait, are we referring to your doppelganger as well?
I don't know. But
I wonder if anyone will get that reference.
I don't know. But I'm not going to give them shout outs. I'm not going to play that game. I mean, I'm not going to go back and forth with people. I'm not trying to gain clout from attacking other channels. I'm simply saying that there are channels that live off of that stuff. And I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I've made my fair share of criticism videos, but it's always been within the world of content that I always make. It's the kind of stuff I always talk about. Fair enough if that's what you talk about. If you're a channel that doesn't like Batwoman...
and also, you're not making it out of spite. You're making it out of, I guess, I don't know if passion's the best, but like something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
That you have an issue with.
Yeah.
But all those videos that are being made on these channels are out of spite,
right.
Pretty much.
So Jordan says, I love that she's a lesbian. I stand that, but I hope it's not the only aspect of her character they focus on. That's my thing. So Jordan, that's a great point, right? Okay, and let me jump on that quickly, because somebody else said that she wouldn't be on the magazine cover as a lesbian, everything or whatever. You have to realize is this show, and I had to realize this about Legends. This is coming from someone who went through the same cycle that a lot of people are going through with this, right? Legends is never going to be the show that I want it to be. I can sit back and complain and complain and complain, and this is why I stopped making videos about it. I can complain about it, and I can be mad about it. Legends of Tomorrow is never going to be the show that I want it to be. So I stopped literally talking about it because there was no reason. I'm going to give it another shot this season based on tonight's episode. I may have to take another break, but I'm going to give it another shot, right? That's my thing, right? It's never going to be the show that I want it to be. So if you don't like Batwoman and you don't like the fact that the show is about her empowering women and being a lesbian superhero and all these other things, it is never going to be the show that you want it to be. It is going to be that show. That's the audience they're going for. And if you don't like it, fair enough. That's fine. Again, I'm not the opinion police here. I'm just saying if you are constantly complaining about it so much, find something else that you love, be passionate about that, and then focus your energy in that direction, because then you're going to get a lot more accomplished than sitting around talking about Batwoman and how much you hate the show. I mean, fair enough, right? If you don't like it, don't watch it, and that's just the way it goes. And I'm going to try and keep that in mind when I get to that point with Legends.
Like even when like the perfect example I think for it with like a show that we like watching is that, and I didn't want to be like constantly not bogged down, but definitely bringing it up every week because I had issues, was when Iris was really bad in season 4.
Right.
I just stopped talking about her.
Yeah,
and it's just because it's not because like, you know, it was just like this hate thing. It's just like, no, if I said anything negative, I was going to get attacked from it. So I thought I just won't mention it, and it just made my reviews so much more easy to go about, even if it was pointing out some other negative stuff as well. But it's just like there was a constant negative in a certain thing that we do. I just usually try and
and here's the other thing. I just want to make this very clear. I'm not defending Batwoman as a show. I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not saying that it's one of my favorite shows. I'm not saying that I agree with every decision they made. I'm really kind of just thinking of Batwoman as an average show. I'm just saying there are people that have obsessed over it, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna, I think the biggest thing to bring up is if you're gonna criticize it, make the critique make sense.
Right.
Because the issue is a lot of it just comes down to bat woke woman and stuff like that.
Right,
like,
right. So
using these like terms and stuff, like you got to make sense of those terms. Like I don't think people realize what woke means.
Yeah.
And like even what like an SJW, anyone that's a vigilante is an SJW.
Yeah.
Batman's an SJW. Green Arrow's an SJW.
I mean, we knew that this was what the show was going to be before it even aired. That's my thing. Like, don't come into this thinking it's going to be something else. It's just not. It's just not going to be. Chainsaw Reacts goes, or people talk Arrowverse, all of a sudden cover Crisis. Like what? Yeah, I know. I've seen so many videos on the Flash cameo with Ezra Miller, and I know the execs at WB wanted that to happen, but as someone who loves the Arrowverse and I see all these channels jumping on the bandwagon for that, it makes me really sad because it shows that they don't care about the shows on the CW. They're caring about this cameo from this character, and so it bums me out. I mean, that's what they wanted to do, so it is what it is. Well, if like Alex P is asking about Batman and Green Arrow SJWs. I'm not going to answer for Pagey. I will say this, that I feel like Green Arrow did a lot of political storylines in the comics. So there was a lot of that.
Green Arrow is literally the quintessential SJW in DC Comics. Like he pretty much is. He says it himself. I'm pretty sure he calls himself a social justice warrior in the comics. The Green Arrow is quintessential in regards to that. Batman, I might be taking a bit of a leap, but to be honest, I don't think you can really debate it too much if you really look into it. Like, I'm not saying every vigilante, because obviously you do get like maybe like the anti-hero aspect of a vigilante sometimes, and obviously they're probably not going to be like that.
Right.
But in regards to the examples I gave, I don't think I'm off at all.
Pagey streaming in a fire. Not a hurricane, bro. All right. So anyway, I don't even know if I want to score this episode. I think it was just an average episode. I think the ending was the best. There was a few cringy moments in it, but overall, I feel like it's doing what it needs to do. I don't think the ratings matter as much as people think they do anymore. So
even then, it's still number 2.
Right.
I guess I still keep saying people saying, "Oh, the ratings are tanking." I'm like, well, I don't know if it's sticking at number 2. It's not really tanking, is it?
So you guys drop your score for Batwoman in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm gonna give it like a 5.5 or 6. It wasn't the best episode, but I thought it was pretty good. So
I think the biggest issue is that it dealt with the mid-season finale.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest issue.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It got bogged down by that, and then they tried to do another plot line as well, so that was probably the biggest issue.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling the same way. It's about average. Okay, that's good to know. I would rather you guys just accept that it's an average show, because that's what it really is.
Yeah.
I mean...
It would have been good if the hook came in a better episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if it was like a 7.5 out of 10 episode, and that's where the hook was. Like, it would have been good if the hook was at the end of last episode, the mid-season finale. However, they couldn't really have that because they sort of needed Crisis to have that, to allow it to happen. So,
all right, well, let's jump on and talk about Supergirl. We're gonna, because Pagey doesn't have a lot of time, so we're gonna kind of speed through this, guys, a little bit. So Supergirl was the bottle episode, and I didn't know what I was expecting from Supergirl this week. I mean, I knew we were going to be dealing with a lot of the changes from Crisis, but when it said the bottle episode, I honestly didn't expect what we got, which was that a literal Earth was in a bottle. And I know that that's something that goes way back in history in the comics, but I just, for some reason, I didn't connect the dots. Did you connect the dots to that when you saw the title, or no?
Well, when it said the bottle, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, does this have something to do with a candor?" And when you look at it, eventually it pretty much did. Like, no, it wasn't obviously candor, but it sort of related to the whole Brainiac aspect of it.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty interesting.
So, I think the Supergirl, in my opinion, is oddly enough one of the shows I'm the most interested in now, based on like what we've got, because I love this idea of the Lex family being part of this whole like Leviathan thing, I guess. I love that Brainy is now Brainy, like the one that we know with the green and the yellow. What did you think of the whole Al's Bar thing? What do you think is going on there? Because I know they gave a brief explanation, but I feel like we're not getting the whole story. So do you think it's just going to be one of those things where for the rest of the season, these characters just pop up from Al's Bar? Do you think that's what's going to happen? Or
yeah, in some degree. Like, I don't think they'll they could overuse it. I don't think they will. They'll probably just like every handful of episodes, something revolving around it will, play into the episodes. But like Supergirl, I wasn't very impressed with the first half. I thought it was I wasn't on board with the Leviathan thing, but now that I think like Lex Luthor's being brought into it and everything like that, and just the Luthors in general, I think it's definitely going to be, and then tying it into the Leviathan thing as well, definitely opens up, I guess you could say, like a can of worms that I'm excited to see wriggle everywhere.
So Gary had a super chat. I was kind of waiting for Supergirl to talk about this. I guess we can go ahead and do it now, because I knew it was related to Supergirl. So it says, are the Flash and Supergirl going to do more crossover stuff in the back half? Canada Graphs would know if that was going to happen more than anybody, because he simply sees more than we do. But I haven't heard anything about any more crossovers between them, even though it's weird because they're literally like across the bay from each other. Have you heard anything about a crossover? I don't think I've heard any. I mean, I haven't seen anything, and you would probably.
The only one that was ever talked about was Batwoman and Supergirl having a crossover later in the season, but I think the executive producer took that back and said that she was either misquoted or she just said it incorrectly, and that it's meant to be for next season. Like, they're planning to do that. But
that makes sense. I think they even said they're going to do a smaller crossover next year, so we're going to get like something a little more personal. than what we've
Yeah,
had.
they said they were going back to they were going back to the roots of it. So that was like what Flash v Arrow and stuff like that. So I guess maybe not world-ending threats. Probably that's probably what it's going to be. So it's going to be like I wouldn't mind if it's like a Legion of Doom sort of thing or Injustice League, but it depends if like what their motive are. Because if it is like a world-ending threat, then well, that's not going back to the roots, is it?
Yeah. Laura E says, does that mean every villain gave up on Supergirl? Wait, no, that's where to go. It popped up. Does that mean every villain's are alive from previous seasons? See, that's the thing is, I think we could actually see something like that. I mean, don't you agree? I mean, we could see characters that we thought were gone pop back up. We saw that in Black Lightning in this week's episode. So I think it's possible there could be villains alive that we don't know about. And of course, our heroes, the Paragons, wouldn't know about it. So
yeah, or it's new villains, like sort of like villains that we thought we knew before might have been changed into a different person or something because they're from a different Earth. Like the Flash is doing Mirror Master, and it seems that she didn't exist before, but now she exists because of this Prime Earth thing.
Yeah. Thank you for your super chat, Gary, by the way. So this Al's Bar thing I think opens a big can of worms. What did you think about the gaggle of Brainies? Did you have any opinions about them? I thought it started off a little bit campy, and I thought it was going to go stupid, and then it got better as the episode went on.
Well, I thought it was going to be one of those things where it's like a Council of Wells where they just keep popping up. I'm going to have like 10 Brainies in the episode, but I like how they just kept it to a limited amount.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was the best way to go because when they just kept walking in, I was like, oh, we're going to have like 17 here. It's going to be like Council of Wells or something like that. But yeah.
So the female Brainy was my favorite out of all of them. I hope that we get her back in some way before the end of the season. Now, I know that was Jesse's sister, but is she actually an actress? Does she act normally, or was she just in the episode?
Yeah, she's on Hawaii Five-0, I think it is.
Okay, because
that's the
familiar.
issue. I don't think. I think it'd be pretty hard to get her back because she's on that show.
Right, and she's one of the main characters, right?
Yeah, like in that main cast. So like that's the. Well, then again, they probably have to film. I don't know when they'd film that show because they probably have different filming schedules than, like the Arrowverse shows. I guess because you probably have to film there when it's, I guess, decent weather.
But I mean, it was brilliant using her because she does resemble him, obviously being family, but in a weird way, she's very close to how he looks. Are they twins or they just look that much alike? Because
I think it just might be they look very much alike.
That's
I don't
crazy.
know if they're twins.
That's crazy. I loved it though. I think I would love to have her back. And the other Brainies were weird in their own way. The Nia storyline with Brainy, I think, is a bit contrived to me because I understand why, she wanted, the female Brainy wanted him to walk away or whatever. But I also think that he could have done it in a way that wasn't so heartless. I mean, that was kind of, like, I get that you don't want to, that you want to, like, leave and not be part of that because of what's going to happen. But I felt like it was a bit heartless the way he did it. I mean, it just was like... This is why, and I hope that this actually makes Nia interesting this season, because I said this early on that I feel like Brainy and Nia have kind of been a ship only for this season of Supergirl. So I'm glad to see this happen only because I think it's going to give her more character development. So we'll have to see where that goes. I think she's an interesting character, and I hope it works, but it was pretty cold the way that he walked away from her. So,
that his sister is 3 years older than him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, let's see what else. There wasn't. I don't think this episode felt very Supergirl-esque. This is one of those episodes where I think Supergirl felt like more of a side character in her own show, and I know it was sort of being acclimated to this new reality, but it did feel like she was secondary to the plot, and I don't like when they do that. I feel like the show loses something when that happens. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess so.
You didn't feel like she was underused in the episode? I can't really remember anything of any major importance that she did this week. I mean,
well, it was more just connected to like our Brainy.
Yeah. So
and that was
it's weird. So we know the Leviathan thing is going to change. We're not really sure how that's going to change in the long run, but we know it's going to change. The Lena thing, before we move on to the next show. So why do you think that Lex wanted Lena to keep her memories? Because I feel like that was more problematic. I feel like it would have been easier to just have her forget everything than to remember her stuff before Crisis. Why did he do that? I don't understand. He wanted her to be on his side, but she would have been on his side if he would have just not given her those memories.
Well, I'm guessing there's a reason for it.
You just don't think we know yet? Yeah.
Yeah, like if it's not explained the next handful of episodes, then I guess there's an issue there. But I think it's one of those things that might have to wait and see, because there's just a lot going on this episode, I guess, with other things. So
yeah,
I'm just happy that they managed to keep Lex Luthor around. Like, we've already know, like, I guess that DC's open to just letting them use the characters a bit more openly, because there's always that, like, you know, I think I didn't use them before, like 3 or 4 episodes last season.
So do you think that they're opening the door for the possibility of other characters, or just the ones that we have right now?
Well, I think they're just more lenient. So, like, even I don't know necessarily every character's open for use, but I think they're just definitely a bit more lenient. If, like, they want to use them for, like, this amount of, you know, time, then fair enough. We're not, So I think they're just a bit more lenient with it.
So Staggervorth, the 199 super chat goes, could Lex end up moving to the Superman spinoff? Thank you so much for the super chat, Staggervor. But so that really depends on what happens with the show, I think, right? I mean,
I don't think they will. I think they set up that like the whole Lex Luthor and Supergirl combination works. I don't know if they'd move. And I think the Superman and Lois show, I don't think it's going to be like Supergirl. It seems like it's almost going to be more like maybe more like Smallville.
Yeah,
Smallville-ish, with like a mix of some other stuff.
Because I think it's going to be mostly about their connection with the kids instead of
and I think they said it's going to be on the Kent farm as well. Like that's going to be their home.
Yeah. Laura says, why are they giving main characters and side characters their pre-crisis memories? Because it makes it easier for the show. I think it's just some of the storylines are already in play. They need them to finish those storylines. They can't just leave them hanging. So that's why they're giving certain people their memories back, and other people it doesn't really matter. Daniel says, Eric, do you think Earth 89, the Michael Keaton Batman universe, got restored because we did not see it anymore? So here's the thing, and feel free to correct me on this, Pagey, but if there's no chance of something coming back into play, like say for example the Tim Burton Batman universe, I don't think it really matters if that Earth exists anymore.
It's probably out there, but it doesn't really matter if it's there or not, because we're never going to see it again.
What we got in this crisis, we'll never see this really with anything else again. So any Earth you saw that got destroyed, you can just assume was restored, and that it's just got another designation or something like that.
If they need to bring it back, then they'll bring it back. But,
right? Yeah.
Well, in that case, we won't see it again. I'd be shocked.
So with Supergirl, I think I'm trying to remember what we're going with this. So Brainy had the thing. He became the regular Brainiac, which is cool. We had the Lena thing, and anything else we want to talk about from that?
The lack of Mon-El. What the hell?
Oh, we know Wynn's coming back, but I think we've known that for a while now. So that was not a huge thing. Oh, and the idea that the multiverse is gone, you guys, I see a lot of comments about this. We know the multiverse still exists. They just don't know the multiverse exists. So they're going to get to that eventually. And I'm assuming the Flash will probably tackle that before anybody else. So the anti-life equation. Yeah, I think I could bring that up, I guess, but we don't really know a lot about that. I talked about that in my review. So yeah, they name dropped the anti-life equation. I think we're probably going to, I mean, that could lead up to something with Darkseid. I really hope it does, and that's why I made my video about it, because I feel like that's a good direction. I don't think we're going to see it, I don't think it'll be the crossover for this upcoming season, or the next season, because they said they want to go back to something smaller and more personal. So, anyway, that's enough of Supergirl. Drop your scores, 1 to 10, in the comments. Tell me what you think. What would you give it? What did you guys think of Supergirl this week? All right, so I guess we could do it very briefly, because I want to kind of get over and talk about the other shows. Let's talk about Black Lightning very briefly.
Wow, trust you to talk about it very briefly, you racist.
It's because we don't normally talk about it, so I feel like adding it in, there's going to be an expectation. So let's go ahead and do it, because you don't normally watch it like on the night it airs.
Well, the thing is that it's not on Australian Netflix anymore.
Oh, it's not? Why not?
No, the contract ended. So it was on like season 1 and 2 at Air Weekly. Now it's not. It's going to come end of the season.
Oh.
So yeah. So I sort of the last 4 episodes. I think I've watched it live for the most. I know the last 3 episodes I've watched live.
So normally we don't discuss it because of that reason. So I don't mind talking about it. And the only reason it's got to be very brief is because I'm looking at the clock and I know we're on limited time. So the big takeaway from this is now Black Lightning is on Earth Prime, which is where all of our Earth 1 characters are, and now Supergirl as well. And it looks to me like they're just going to pick up the story kind of where it was already, which I think is the smart thing to do, with some very slight changes to characters. We know Jennifer is going to be different. Obviously, Jefferson knows that there's some changes. We also know that now Lynn is severely addicted to green light. And so those kinds of things are going on. So let's talk about the 2 big things, I think, which is Jennifer. I think Jennifer, her story is probably the most interesting to me because I think she's absorbed either the powers or the personalities of these other 2 that she interacted with, other 2 versions of herself that she interacted with from Earth 2 and Earth 3. So what do you think's going on with Jennifer? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know specifically what's going on, but it does seem like, because at that beginning, well, was it the beginning when she references it, like she's calling that like white space, she was in like her safe space or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I think that's what she was calling it.
Right.
So I don't know if it's something where she's going to be able to, I know like it's a weird term, but like she can build power from that or something like that. Because I was like surprised when like that whole sequence happened where she was getting shot by the gun. Mm-hmm. And then she just stood there. I was like, what's going on here? And then the bullet just went through her. So I was just, I'm interested to see if her powers do evolve throughout the season in like a very excessive way.
Yeah. Because now she's gotten to the point where she can phase through stuff, sort of like bullets can fly through her and stuff like that. So it's almost like the Flash, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued to see what they do. Like, I think it'll probably have, they won't spend like there's only 6 episodes left, so it's not like they got 12 episodes left or something like the Flash does or something. But
didn't the police chief kind of spoil something like just the other day? We were on Instagram, or was it Twitter, where he posted
it was on Twitter and
he's not coming back, and I'm like, the season's not even done yet. Like, that felt to me almost like he was upset about it.
Well, they wrapped shooting season 3 either yesterday or today. You know, Jay-Z's directing the finale.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm curious to what that sounds like. I mean, to what that's going to be like, because it's probably going to have a really good soundtrack. He probably had some of his music in it, and that's why they allowed, like, maybe there was a connection there, like you can use my music if you let me direct an episode or something. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I just felt it was weird that the police chief was like, "Oh, I'm not going to be in next season." And I'm like, were we supposed to know that? Like,
yeah, it's a bit weird. But
do you think that he was mad about something? Do you think he was upset, or because it seems weird that he?
Well, it might be like the whole, because I guess like I'm guessing something. I don't know. Would something with the resistance and the fact that he started it and stuff like that lead to him dying or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it almost means he's going to just. I don't think he would walk away, which means this character must get killed off. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. I have no idea. Who knows? All right. So, other than that, I don't think there wasn't much in this episode to really dive into, but I love Black Lightning. I still think it's one of the best shows in the Arrowverse. And, yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. You guys drop your scores in the comment section below. What did you think of this week's, Black Lightning on a scale of 1 to 10? My Black Lightning review will be up tomorrow, by the way. It's for anybody that wants to hear my full thoughts on it. Let's see, we're going to move over and we're going to do something different here. And I don't even think I have, do I have pictures for the season? I think I do. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, I guess I do. I didn't even know that if I had pictures for this episode or not. So we're going to do something different. I know Legends aired after Arrow, but we're going to talk about Legends first. Then we're going to talk about Arrow last, so we can dedicate as much time to Arrow as possible. So we're just going to go through Legends quickly and talk about this episode. So Legends of Tomorrow was titled Meet the Legends, I believe that was the name of it. Yes, there it is, right there on my screen. Meet the Legends. So let's skip Legends. That's funny. God. As you guys heard me ranting about earlier, if I don't like something, I tend to stop talking about it. The only caveat to that is during the live streams, because I like to cover all the shows and at least give them a fair shake, even if I'm not a big fan of them. There's a lot of people that love Legends of Tomorrow, right? I'm not one of them. I'm one of the people who loved it like season 2 and part of season 3, and then that love just kind of faded away for me. So this episode, we're dealing with like them being on the Wave Rider, being followed around by a film crew. And I will be honest with you guys, for the first like 15-ish minutes, I think, I was kind of like, all right, I'm going to just try and take this in and, you know, deal with what I can deal with. And I thought there were some funny moments. I think the meta stuff with like, you know, how calling out the crossover and all that, I thought that was kind of stupid. And, you know, all these other little things that happened. I think where it fell off the rails for me was when they took the camera crew into the palace with Rasputin. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, they literally don't care about screwing up history anymore. At this point, it's like, it just doesn't matter, I guess. They walk in with the camera crew. He seems to be okay with it. It makes sense to him, to Rasputin, and I'm like, all right, that's it. You lost me here. I'm done. Once again, I kind of almost tuned out at that point. What are your thoughts on this episode, Pagey? I just want to know your general thoughts on this episode of Legends.
I think they went too silly. I think they tried, like, I don't know what it is either. Like, I think it's like I don't know what the thinking is behind the episodes and like what they're going for. I'm not saying like, oh my god, like the writing is terrible, because I think for what they're going for, it's not terrible.
Right.
I just don't understand like what necessarily they are going for, because I don't think you can be a fan of the Arrowverse and be like like super connected to this show.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense, because they seem to mock everything.
Yeah. So here, honestly, if you think about it, the Legends hour of the crossover had the heart and soul of what the show is now. But thankfully, they left so many characters out, you honestly didn't even have to watch Legends. I mean, you might not get the Bebo reference because that was kind of ridiculous. But outside of that, there really wasn't much else that you would have missed from the show, because they kind of left everybody out except for the characters who were originally on Arrowverse shows, like Sarah, Ray, and Mick. If you think about it, everyone else who wasn't included, they were all the people that came on afterwards. Sarah, Ray, and Mick were all characters that kind of existed in the Arrowverse before Legends started. So I'm like, okay, so we have those characters. They fit in with that world. But I think that the rest of the people behind the teams who do like the crossovers realize that the rest of the Legends characters don't really fit in with the Arrowverse. Because they just don't, honestly. I mean, think about it. Mona, Gary, those characters don't fit in to the Arrowverse. Where would they have fit in during Crisis? There's nowhere they could have put them. It just wouldn't have happened. So, I mean, I feel like you could honestly just skip Legends altogether and you wouldn't miss very much. I didn't like how they made light of Oliver sacrificing himself. I thought that was
like the weird line from Nate when someone says about Oliver dying. He's like, well, that's why you don't do the crossovers.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I felt like it was tongue-in-cheek, but it's too soon for me because we haven't even ended the season of Arrow, and Sarah is someone who, like Katie Lotz, the scene with her at the very end was the best thing that Legends has done in 2 seasons. The scene at her at the end where she's in tears and she's upset that no one cares, that she just lost one of her closest friends and she needs her friend's help. That to me was like, okay, that's some of the best acting that Katie has done in forever. It's also some of the best writing that Legends has done in forever. And it's because, guess what? It actually felt real. The rest of the show feels like a live action cartoon. And I know that's kind of what they're going for sometimes, but it's connected to a world that already exists. And that's where I've always said that there was an issue with that. You know, like, for example, I was watching it with someone tonight who wasn't caught up on the show. And he was like, what is this? Like the misfit island of toys that are just all kind of stuck together? You know, you have these characters that have powers. They don't use them at the right times. They let people do things to them. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Even they were like, what am I watching? You know? And I feel like it's, you know, Mark Guggenheim said that he didn't like the idea of that article driving the Flash because he felt like it was the cart driving the horse. And I feel like we have a similar situation with Legends where the show itself has ran away with these characters. And I don't get it. And I wish that I could. I wish I could see in this show what everybody else does because I just don't understand. And, you know, I think I still love the Ava and Sarah relationship. I think that's good. I think her card to Sarah was a bit stupid, where she was kind of mocking the relationship they had previously. It's like, we get it. I just feel like the people on Legends just don't care about the other shows. And if that's the case, why not? You know what? Why didn't they just stick Legends in a different Earth? I mean, I would have been totally okay with that. Send them to a different Earth. I do want to say this, and someone brought it up earlier. Was the Mick in Crisis our Mick or a Mick from a different Earth? Because our Mick was the one that came back with Ray and Sarah, but that wasn't the Mick that we had in Crisis. That was the Mick that was on another Earth on the Wave Rider, right? So our Mick wouldn't have been with them. Am I right?
I don't know. I was like tripping out half the episode.
Okay.
I didn't attention 1 minute, not the next one.
So I don't know. I have no idea. We did get rid of Mona. Now she's going to be
let's be honest. Does it really matter?
It doesn't. But we did, I think, is Mona gone? Legit gone? Like, is she not in the rest of the season? I need to know this.
Well, apparently, like, I think even Canada Graphs was saying that he hadn't seen her on set. Like, whenever they were doing, like, public stuff, he'd never seen her.
So, do you think they wrote her out because of the backlash? Because I don't believe they would. Or do you think they just didn't need her in this season? Because I think Zari's coming back. And I think they needed to get rid of a character.
Well, Zari is coming back.
Yeah, that's
what
I think.
But I think it's...
But isn't her brother going to stay? I mean, I don't think...
I'm pretty sure her brother stays, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they needed a space to get opened for Zari.
Yeah, and it might be something where she goes away and then maybe when Ray leaves, she comes back.
Yeah. What backlash? UNE Music, you don't remember the backlash from Mona last year? I mean, that was everywhere.
Like even the actress had to tweet out because I felt bad for her because she was getting like... Which I always say, like, don't tweet at freaking actress or actor. She was getting like pretty much like online bullied for her. Well,
Nora is basically gone already, guys. Like, let's be honest. I mean, she might come back now and again, but she's not going to be back like she was before. And we know Ray is leaving, but I think Ray leaving was because I do believe that we're going to get Ryan. So Ray leaving will be replaced by Ryan, but they needed a space for Zari, and that was Mona's spot because they're not going to get rid of any of the other girls. So, yeah. People had no idea that Mona got backlash. Wow, maybe we were in a different universe. I don't know. Well, Ray is, I think he's the most expensive. Brandon Routh is the most expensive actor on the show now. Is that correct? Either him or Katie Watts.
I think him and Katie probably in the same money, but Katie serves more, like Sarah serves more of a to the plot.
Right, if you're going to put money down, you're going to put it on
her.
Yeah. Mona left when Mick basically said you can take over the name of Rebecca Steele, and she's like, great, I'm off the ship. That was it.
Yeah.
So I guess just being a werewolf, she can just run around and do whatever she wants. I don't know. So anyway, give your score of I don't even know what to talk about with Legends. What did we get at the end? Constantine went back to hell. I think that's it. Anyway, give your score of Legends in the in the comment section. All right, it is time, and I have not watched your reaction video, Pagey, for this, so I have something to watch when I'm done.
The thing is that before we get into talking about it, I have a feeling some people, not everyone, because people might legitimately think it was a 10 out of 10, but I think some people are overscoring this just in case people are looking online. So there's the show gets picked up.
You think they're people are buffering it with scores, you're saying?
Buffering it with like false scores.
Okay.
Like I'm saying, like if they handed out a thing, people would definitely give it like a 9 or 10 when they probably think it's a 7 or 8.
Okay. So you think they're like giving it a couple points, right?
Yeah. Because before I even start talking about it, if you think it's a 9 or a 10, I don't know. Like I know there's a thing about opinion, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like,
okay. So this was
I'm lost for words.
Well, let's try and pull it all together here, you guys. We're about to talk about an episode of Arrow, which I think we talked about this last week, is the first episode that Oliver Queen was not actually in the episode. Like, there was a picture of him, but there was no dialogue from him, and he was not in any scenes at all. So, did we confirm this last week? I think this is the first one.
Yeah, like we speculated the one after the thingamajig when he gets stabbed by Ra's al Ghul, but he's at the end of that episode, and he's also in flashbacks.
Okay. All right. So this episode was going to be called Living in the Future because Mark Guggenheim has a tradition, I believe, of titling the penultimate episodes after a Billy Joel song. Is that correct?
Yes, okay. But I don't think there's a song called Green Arrow and the Canaries.
No, there's not. But he was going to call it Living in the Future. That was the original title or whatever. But anyway, now it's Green Arrow and the Canaries, and I think they did that for branding. Before we talk about this, do you think that's what the show is going to be called?
Green Arrow and the Canaries?
Yes.
Oh, 100%. It's too long of a title, but it's what it'll be called.
Okay. So people are just going to shorten it. It could be just the Canaries. They're throwing Green Arrow in there for branding, but it's whatever.
If anything, they'll just call it Green Arrow, which would be super triggering.
With just the canary symbols, like the logo we saw in tonight's episode. Okay, so I don't think it's any secret that people know that I'm not a fan of the Mia character for a lot of reasons. I feel that there's a sense of entitlement for this character that is completely unwarranted, and they keep trying to push it and keep trying to push it. And I had hoped in this episode, since we were getting a, quote, different version of Mia, that she would change the way she is on screen and we would get someone that's a bit more accessible as a character. And I think she started out that way, and then it just went south when they gave her memories back. We did get a confirmation, though, at least from what I could tell, that they don't lose their memories, that they just have two sets of memories.
Which makes you think, oh, do their brains double in size?
Yeah, how does that work? I don't know how that's going to work. But anyway, that's what we get here. And so I thought that it was the same Mia that we've had, which I was totally disappointed in. I think she was still as insufferable as she has been, and I hate that they did that. I honestly wish now that they would have just kept her the way she was. So, what did you think of Mia in this episode? Like, let's just go ahead and tackle this right now. What are your thoughts?
I don't think she was as bad as you're making her out to be, but that just comes down to, like, I guess, how you read, you know, how she performs and stuff like that. Funnily enough, if I was going to say, like, in regards to, like, individual moments where it made me raise my eyebrow on her, it's probably Laurel. And I thought Laurel was still the best part of this episode, but I think some of her motives were like, God, you're being very forceful here. Like, that thing she did with Mia, like, at the first fight scene, I'm like, Mia's probably right. She probably got to get her head chopped off, and it would have been your fault. Like, how does, like, Laurel know that Mia would have been sweet in that situation?
Right. She
doesn't. Like, it's, but that's more of the writing, and I've said that the first half of this episode I thought was very poor with the writing. I gave it a 4 out of 10 on Twitter, and I think that might have been being generous.
Wow.
Because it was so rushed.
Wow. It was a 4 out of 10. It
was so rushed, and some of the dialogue was really bad. Like, some of it was, I think the dialogue in about 70% of the episode was pretty bad, but definitely that first half.
Yeah, you hated it more than I did. I wouldn't have given it a 4 out of 10, but that's just me.
The first half was pretty bad, but I think I probably enjoyed the back half more than you.
Okay.
So I think I disliked more of the stuff in the first half when it felt like they were... Well, I know they had to do some stuff, but I feel like they honestly could have cut 10 minutes of it out.
Okay.
In the whole episode.
Right.
And they could have put more of that stuff to maybe a bit of a longer fight scene and stuff like that. But I don't know. Thank God that twist at the end, because if I had to deal with the terrible chemistry between Mia and JJ.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's some of the worst
I've
seen. So thank God that whole memory thing has changed up.
Did you feel like the twist was obvious, though? I mean, I felt like it was coming. I wasn't too shocked about that at the end.
Well, it's more that I'm more shocked that they put a twist like that in a backdoor pilot.
Especially one that we don't know for sure is coming to series.
Well, even if it gets picked up for series, this is probably a mid-season premiere, so this will be a year.
Do you think they would take this episode and just throw it in as the premiere? Like, would they air it?
It wouldn't surprise me if they did something like that, or they reshot some scenes, but they kept this general plot.
Because I feel like this as a backdoor pilot. Okay, so it feels
it's a
weird for a lot
backdoor.
of reasons.
It's definitely not. it's definitely not a standard backdoor pilot.
Yeah.
Like this felt like a pilot with like a lot of references. Like they probably could have taken out some of the references because they're referencing like stuff that like the funeral and stuff like that, which once again plays into the fact that this probably shouldn't have been before the series finale because this takes place after the series finale.
And there was a lot of things that they were talking about from the funeral that we don't know about. And I'm like, I don't know what happened here.
And how is future Mia at the funeral? She's in the promo images.
That's true. You're absolutely
Hopefully
right
this makes sense.
Okay.
Because I don't know, yeah.
We got a super chat up here. It says from Staggervore, thank you so much for the 499 super chat. He goes, do you think Roy would have been a better choice to carry the Green Arrow mantle? Is that a real question? Absolutely, I think Roy would have been a better choice. You know, they would never give us that version of Roy, though. I mean, we're going to get Roy in the finale, but I wish we could get that one, but that's not going to happen. You know, I think there was ever a chance of that happening. But thank you for the super chat.
Yeah. I think another surprising thing with this show is that it does seem like the whole show is going to be in 2040 if it does get picked up.
So, do you also feel like they downplayed 2040 a bit? I mean, there was some futuristic stuff. It
was more like they just added like stuff in the the lights on like the buildings.
I think that was intentional.
When Legends went to the future.
Yeah, I think it was intentional to make it easy for them to film.
And even like, yeah, like it just like even like they use the same futuristic cars that like the Flash uses when it does some future stuff. I think when it goes to series, I don't think like it's still gonna be set in 2040, but I don't think you're gonna. Well, it might not. They might change it. That's the thing with a backdoor pilot. Like everything's up for change. Even the JJ twist, they could completely scrap that.
Yeah.
And do something completely different. Like they could change it up where everything we saw there actually didn't happen, and they changed it around. That's just like this is like a proof of concept sort of thing. Like, oh yeah, this is the general thing, but if you don't like it, we'll change it up if we get to series. And then the normal pilot is like completely different. Like they fight Banana Bob or whatever his name is.
So Crisis obviously changed a ton of stuff in the future. I think the Crisis changed. Here's the thing. Do you think this much would have actually changed based on what happened with Crisis? Do you think that this much of the future would have been different?
Well, I don't think they necessarily made it. It's really due to Crisis. It's just due to what Arrow did, where they go live with. I don't think Crisis really had any effect on it for the most part, outside of what is ever going on with Dinah, which seems that it's probably going to play into the plot. It might seem that maybe the villain for the season maybe knocked her out and brought her to the future, which is like, why?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing they have to explain. Did Oliver expect to do it because he knew this was going to happen or something? Like, there's a lot of things that need to be explained, which I don't think is the smartest thing to do. Like, they should have at least given, even if it wasn't a full explanation, at least half an explanation to it. Because as I said, even with, like, the cliffhanger and stuff at the end, this could be a year until this continues.
Right.
And by that point, they might not even, like, the pilot might be completely different, or, you know, when they pick up, they just get back into everything and everyone's forgotten because it's been a year and stuff like that. So I think they could have done more with explaining certain things. And as I said, that like you could have taken about 10 minutes out of the episode with dialogue between certain characters. Like, I honestly didn't care about William and Zoe in this episode at all. Like, they could have had William and Zoe there. I didn't think it had to be like this ridiculous conversation between them, which ate up about like 2 or 3 minutes or something.
Right.
And various other things. Like, there was even a conversation between, I think, JJ and Mia, which was sort of pointless. And even like when they go to the art gallery, they could have done that elsewhere, just like hack in there.
So here's another issue I have with it. So as much as I loved Laurel, because I still felt like Laurel was, in my opinion, the strongest character in this series, even though Mia's supposed to be the lead character, I honestly felt like Laurel was kind of leading the cart with this one.
I think that's and
I do understand what you're saying. A lot of her stuff felt very like pushy and forced or whatever. But let's talk a little bit about some of the things I didn't like about Laurel. Number one is they said that this was going to be like a combination of like Earth 1 and Earth 2 Laurel. I feel like this was just Earth 2 Laurel. Like, I didn't feel like this was a combination of the two characters. Did I miss something, or?
They never said that. They said it would be explained what version of Laurel this is. So what this could be is that maybe there are 2 versions of Laurel and this one's forced to go elsewhere. Because maybe Earth 1 Laurel is back alive.
Okay. So maybe the Laurel were... Wait, no, because then Laurel said that she was at the funeral too. So we're gonna have two Laurels at the funeral. Like,
I have no idea. Like that. Like they said that.
This is why it should have been like, this
well, that's why I'm like the thing is, I'm gonna be annoyed if this show was always intended to be picked up, because I feel like they've created like a bit of a blip in the continuity, because we're reliant on the finale to sort of explain some stuff in this episode, which shouldn't be the case. So I feel like if they always had the intention to do this spin-off, and look, I'd be shocked if it's not picked up. I know there's people saying, oh, it's not going to get picked up, it'll never get picked up. I'd be shocked if it doesn't get picked up, to be completely honest. And it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow they announced it, or within the next week or something. But if they always had the intention, then maybe they shouldn't just done this episode. But I have a feeling, and I think most people know this by now, that they probably planned it just to fill in that, to fill the, what do you call it? You'd mark off the clause, I guess you could say, in Catherine McNamara's contract, where she obviously was given a pilot order for signing on, because it made no sense when she signed on for Arrow. Like, I think everyone was like, why is she on here filling this minor role in the future that no one likes? Why is she in that role? And it's obvious that she was promised a pilot order,
so
where she's the star.
The other thing, and the other thing about Laurel that I sort of was annoyed by was all the tech she had. And I know she explained that it was created, like Cisco created the ring that she has to give people, you know, their memories back and everything, which I'm not even going to jump into how ridiculous that is. But anyway, so that's what they did and whatnot. But but anyway, I didn't know you could bottle up Martian Manhunter's powers and use it with tech. I had no idea that was a possibility, but I guess it is. I feel like that was a simple way for them to just get everything going. And I was like, oh, okay, so this must be easy. And then at the end, you find out that there's somebody else with the same tech. And I'm like, what? So
what if that's Earth One Laurel? Bum, bum, bum. That would be a Guggenheim move, making Earth One Laurel the villain.
Yeah, and then the whole time traveling thing, I felt like that was a bit sort of brushed off too. It wasn't really totally explained. So I feel like this show was sort of created. It's like they just plopped everything together. Like you said, it felt very rushed. There wasn't a lot of build up for how Laurel got there, which that's why I feel like this was a throwaway episode of the show, because when you go back and you watch this season on playback, you can literally skip this episode. It won't even matter. And the thing is that they could build up on things that they needed to happen between like the end of Arrow and before this episode aired, but we're going to have to tackle that in the first season, which makes this episode even more confusing, because we picked up with these characters who are all kind of on a separate journey, and we just threw them together for this mission. It just felt very stupid to me. I mean, I didn't like how all that came together. I thought that was a bit much. We got a super chat here from Connor Reed, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Connor. He says, as far as the spinoff is concerned, I really wasn't excited for the spinoff when it was first announced, but after seeing the episode, I actually quite enjoyed the episode. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. I can see like a score like that. And I enjoyed watching it, but for me, it felt like an episode of Arrow, without Green Arrow. And I wanted it to feel much different. It did everything I expected. I was hoping for some surprises. We didn't really get many surprises. I think everything we kind of expected to happen was going to happen, with an exception of the twist at the end and information on Laurel and Dinah, which is kind of like, Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue with the show, is that they sort of were advertising. It's like, oh, yeah, it's got elements of Arrow, but it is its own show. It's something different. I'm like, is it? Because it was sort of structured.
I was so wrong about this one. When I saw the promo pictures, I was like, this feels like a different show. And then about 30 minutes in, I'm like, it doesn't really...
It took an L there.
Well, because I wanted it to be. And I think the dynamic is definitely different, but the core of the show still feels like Arrow to me. Maybe that's a good thing for some people. I don't know if it's going to be... Well,
for me, it's more like you're just remaking the show.
Right. It even feels like the season one, with like her having the money and being a vigilante at nighttime. And I mean, what is she going to have, a bodyguard or something? I mean, what's going to happen next?
Yeah, like it just brings up the argument, like, and the argument, just the question, I guess, like, did we need this? And I think the honest answer that I think 99% of people would say is probably not. If it's just going to be a repeat of Arrow and a retread, and that's like even with Deathstroke, him being Deathstroke, so we're just having a less cool Deathstroke because he's not going to be as cool as Slade.
No,
nowhere near it. He's not. Like we saw him in the flash forwards, like, oh, okay, he's there. He was like probably the best part of the flash forwards, but that's not saying much.
Yeah. So let's.
Season,
people say everybody hates Dinah, so let's talk about Dinah for a second. Dinah's story makes no sense.
It seems very forced.
Yeah, I'm tossed in 2040. I somehow have access to everything that I had before in terms of like money and stuff like that. I have an identity in 2040. Nobody remembers that I was the Canary. Nobody remembers who I was. But somehow I remember everything for whatever reason. And I was able to find this cool apartment and just build my life up from nothing. I mean, what kind of story is this? Really, honestly, it just feels so stupid to me. It legit makes no sense at all. Like, we talked about how Laurel's feels weird and rushed. Dinah's is literally a non-story. They're literally saying that she had nothing to do with anything. Yeah. Now she's in 2040 and she's fine. She owns a bar and she's still a metahuman. So, I mean, according to her, she didn't even exist in the past, but now she's back. I mean... People saying Dinah was fine, Dinah was okay. There's nothing wrong with what Dinah did in this episode. It's just they erased everything that she did. Yeah. Right. They erased everything that she did. Her 3 years with Arrow or whatever are completely erased. So did John restore her memories? Did we confirm that? Because the way she talked, she doesn't even know how things happened. What was she even doing there? Because Laurel had to track her down. So I don't think John restored her memories. I think she woke up there with her memories and she's just displaced in time. It doesn't make any sense. Because she was erased from present day. Erased, guys. There's no mention of her anywhere. No Dinah, no Black Canary, or her being the Black Canary, nothing. There's nothing. So take that in for a second. Dinah is literally a character at this point who has never existed before. Simply so she could be in 2040.
Never remembered hanging out with her.
I guess. I mean,
like, I can understand if this was like some sort of effect from Crisis. Why it'd still be a long shot, but it seems weird that she was there in that part 5 after everything is restructured, and then this happens. Like, unless it's meant to be like some sort of mystery that goes throughout the season, but it just seems like sort of like a random mystery. Why is her specifically she taken and then erased from the past in like the history books and placed in the future?
So, guys, I see people are trying to piece together the puzzles of this show in the chat. Don't worry about it. There's no way to do it because it literally doesn't make sense.
It does feel like the script was really rushed.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a lot of because it doesn't feel like people went through the script a lot and then went, okay, well, this doesn't make sense, so let's go back. And I know it's Arrow, it's a CW show, you're probably not expecting that, but I think Arrow's always been a show that's tried to do that the most, where they try and connect it, and if they like sort of have to, what's the word, like suspend belief for a bit, they'll go and do it. But this is like a big sort of, I'm not gonna call it an issue, but definitely a big plot hole, maybe.
Yes, as if Laurel Black Canary exists, why would Dinah take up the mantle? Why do we have, multiple versions of characters? Why is Lady Eve still around? Like, none of it really makes a lot of sense, but Dinah's story in particular is the worst, I think, because it erased everything that she did the whole time she was in the Arrowverse. The Vigilante storyline, the police chief storyline, her flipping around from old Team Arrow to new Team Arrow, her stuff with Renee, they erased. It's all gone. It's like she doesn't even have a legacy because they wanted this show to happen. Dinah lost her entire legacy in the Arrowverse because they wanted this show to happen. So here we are. I mean, that's it. I believe they sat down. They wanted to make a show around Mia. They wanted to use this kid Green Arrow, but they knew that it wasn't enough to hook everybody. So they tossed in 2 characters that they thought they could make a show with, which is Laurel and Dinah. And they're like, oh, here we go. Here's the show.
Why does Dinah still have a suit?
I thought the same thing. Not only does she still have the suit, but she's still a metahuman.
Yeah.
She is still a metahuman. Think about this for a second. She has her suit. She has her powers, but she never became the Black Canary. She never had anything to do with Arrow. Like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And I think, honestly, like, as much as I have not liked Dinah's storyline, this is ridiculous. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So, also, I was annoyed by the fact that Mia is this big, huge, like, celebrity. And she was running around with them originally without a suit and a mask on, with just, like, the hoodie on or whatever. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. This is Oliver from season 1, you know, when he came back to the city and everything. So it's just, I don't know. So do you think like there's no doubt in your mind that this is going to get picked up for a season? Like, we're going to get one season of this?
Look, I'm not saying 100%, but I'd be very, very surprised if it didn't get picked up, just because it's just such an easy choice. Like, to me, it just seems like such an easy choice. Like, writing wise as well, it just seems like it's an easy choice. The only thing that massively goes against it is that this season that we're in currently, and we're in the back half of, they had 15 shows. Next season, they've already got 15 shows booked in, because 2 shows are ending, which are Supernatural and Arrow, and they've already picked up Superman and Lois and the Walker Texas Ranger reboot thing, which are both higher potential shows than Green Arrow and the Canaries, because Jared Padalecki is the lead on that Walker Texas Ranger. Then it's obviously freaking Superman. So those 2 shows have higher potential than Green Arrow and the Canaries. However, the trades are saying that there's arguably 1, maybe 2 spots left for the back half, because and the show might run into June.
Yeah. So
it would be like, remember when Supergirl took that break and ran into June?
Right.
It could be something like that. So the thing is that would they want a new IP? Do they want 7 DC shows on?
Yeah.
At the time, like, that can make it, you know, like almost half of their content, which I don't know if they want, because they've always said that the max they would ever have is 6, and they're on 6 at the moment if you include Superman and Lois.
Right.
So that's the big question.
Unless something has changed. I mean, I don't know why. But...
Well, they could fit in probably another show or 2, because if you think about it, like, Black Lightning's always got a shorter season, and the thing is, you got to remember Stargirl's coming in, which technically makes it 16, but it was a late introduction.
Right. So
that
would you consider that, because Stargirl's not an Arrowverse show? It is, but it's
it's also it's starting at a very weird time as well.
And would you consider this show, even though it's on the Earth that we're on with everybody else, this is not what I would consider to be part of the Arrowverse? Because
no, if it's in the future, and it's not like they're the Legends. They have they can just time travel at will. Like, it seems like they're going to be locked in the future, I guess, by the sounds of it.
The only thing this show would ever have any issues with is if something gets changed in the past and they have to change it in the future. But then, like, it's already crazy as it is. And the switching of JJ and Connor, like, okay, switched actors, now they switch sides, and it's like, I'm so done with all that. Charmed Original says, how does it erase it? Dinah went to the future with all of her memories from her life. She was touched by John in 8-8. I'm not saying that she doesn't remember stuff. Obviously she does. And I'm not saying that what she did during Crisis didn't happen. I'm saying, historically, because of what they did, they erased, and she even says it in this episode, there's no record of her being who she was at all from the period of time that she was with Team Arrow. So I don't need to be corrected on something that they said in the episode. I didn't make this up. This is what they said. Go back and watch it. So she does remember, yes, but why she's in 2040, that doesn't make any sense. Why she was erased from history, that doesn't make any sense. So those things are what bothers me. The fact that she has her own memories, I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that at all. I'm saying that it just doesn't make sense where she is. So anyway, the twist at the end was that now JJ has his memories back from being in the Deathstroke gang, and here we go. So we're going to be dealing with this. I guess we'll get some sort of, when it does actually get ordered to series and we get like a pilot or official first episode or whatever, that they're going to try and clean it up a little bit, because it was very messy. And I would say you gave it a 4 out of 10. I'm going to say I would give it like a 5.5, maybe a 6 out of 10, because I love Laurel. So I'm a bit biased there.
The episode?
Yeah.
No, I give the episode about a 7.
Oh, do you? Okay.
The first half was about a 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say I'm teetering between like a 5.5 to a 6.5. I would even give it a 7. I don't think there was anything particularly bad. Like the stunt work was great. I think the fight scenes were fine. I just don't care for the direction of the series because of Mia right now.
I think that's the biggest issue is that even Laurel, this version of Laurel, none of these characters are leading character material. Because the thing with Laurel is like, especially her attitude, unless it changes, but at least at the moment, it's not leading. Like she has to bounce off someone,
right.
And I don't think a lead that has to bounce off someone is technically a lead.
Right.
Like a character that has to bounce off someone.
It's an ensemble
is like a lead
cast.
character material.
It's an ensemble
like
cast.
Oliver can be in an episode by himself, and you're like, yes, let's keep going. Let's see what. Like it could just be him fighting or doing whatever, just him doing stuff, and you're attached to it. Same with Barry. Like you can just watch it and just watch him do his stuff.
Right.
But I don't think any of these characters can do that. They are really relying on each other. Maybe that's the thing they're going for, so that all three are on screen at the same time, or all of them have even time.
Right.
But I think that's a weakness to it. That you have to rely on all three being together, or at least there being multiple people on screen at the one time.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like it's not a show led by Kat. I feel like it's just an ensemble cast. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
and and I think if you're gonna have Green Arrow as the main thing and the Canaries, which are plural, accounted for 2 characters, she probably needs that lead presence. Unfortunately, she doesn't. And I think that was always a concern that people had.
Was that Kat can't carry the show? I agree.
She was never going to be able to carry the show. Yeah,
I agree with that. So, unfortunately, there's no Flash for 2 more weeks, I believe, or is it 3 more weeks? I think it's
2 weeks. Next week's Arrow is like 2 hours special, and then the week after that's Arrow.
Is it me, or does it look like the Arrow special is going to be a weird episode? I don't think it's going to be like a full.
It looks like it's just going to be like something that'd be like on the DVD.
Yeah,
like one of those things. So it's going to be like a DVD special, like feature, but with ads. That's what it seems like it's going to be, but it'll be interesting to see what happens on there because, just see who they interview and stuff like that.
Why no
but
Flash,
the one
Mark Hayden? Because the Flash didn't come on.
One thing I was going to say is, do you think it's sort of pointless that Legends came back this week and then isn't on next week?
Yeah, it's stupid. It was
like it seems a bit weird.
Yeah. Because so let's talk about the ratings thing. I do want to talk about that briefly before we go. So as far as the ratings go, there was some sports stuff going on, but also the CW has done a very bad job of promoting their live shows because I don't think they care if you watch it live.
They
honestly.
don't.
So the fact that the ratings are down for certain shows and up for certain shows, I honestly at this point don't think it matters. I included my multiverse mega video because people ask for it, but I don't think it's very relevant anymore. I think they've shown that they don't really care too much about it. There's no Legends next week because they're airing a special about Arrow after Arrow airs.
No, it's before.
Oh, is it before? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's before.
Yeah, it's like a accompaniment episode or whatever. As far as why the Flash isn't on, Mark, it's because of that. They're doing a special 2-hour thing for Arrow, and then the Legends premiere was why
they wanted Legends to get in.
So, so as far as promoting goes, I think when it comes to the numbers, they don't care. They get more views or more money off of playback on their own service and stuff like that. So, Captain America, Chris Evans was mentioned in Batwoman. MCU canon, now canon. No, but go check out those pictures of U.S. Agent. Oh, gosh. That's a costume to be, thrown in the dumpster. Did you see those pictures, by the way? The U.S. Agent pictures?
I think it's meant to look sort of goofy.
It looks very basic, like almost side character-ish. And I think that's
I think it's meant to sort of, I think that's the intention, but I don't know. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how political that show gets, though.
Jordan, that's a funny comment. Won't Dinah and Laurel run into their future selves? When it comes to Dinah, Dinah doesn't really exist. Yeah. And as far as Laurel goes, if this is the Laurel from the past, then she came to the future, which means there is no Laurel in the future unless she goes back, which we don't know if she is or not. So
confusing.
So the last episode isn't a full episode of Arrow. I don't think it's going to be an episode like we are normally used to. I think it's going to be an intermingling of like Stephen Amell talking and other people talking and scenes. So,
big question is they've done Green Arrow and the Canaries, but now Emiko Queen's alive. Why isn't she Green Arrow? She was Green Arrow in the comics.
Yeah.
But now they've made up this character.
I feel like the last episode of Arrow is going to be a trip into Fantasyland. That's what I think.
Well, I'm intrigued to see what they do because it's going to be hard to wrap that show. Because Oliver's dead. It's going to be such a hard show to wrap up.
Yeah. Where
I think people are happy with it, if that makes sense. I think I'll be pleased with it because I just think I will. Maybe that's me being a bit biased and I think it might be a bit of a refresh from what we just watched today. Even though I didn't think it was bad, I just thought it was very average. Yeah. I'm just intrigued to see what they do because it seems like it's going to be a mix-up of... It wouldn't surprise me if maybe they show us maybe the new history of this Earth and where Oliver was at certain points, like because Emiko is now alive, Moira is now alive.
I would love for them to do... Were you talking about like a montage of what actually happened? I would love that.
Well, not a montage, even just like a play-by-play, like saying if like... It wouldn't surprise me if maybe they did something where like it's literally the funeral and the memorial.
Because it seemed like they were going back through like scenes of like important things happening. So I think we're going to see maybe a different, like how things happen differently.
Yeah. Maybe. So it wouldn't surprise me if like they did where like literally the only two present day scenes are the funeral and then the memorial at the statue. And then everything else is a flashback to maybe explain a different series of events. So like what happened to Emiko? Why is she alive now? Was she brought in by the Queen family?
What happened to that lady that was the head of the organization that Emiko was?
Beatrice.
Yeah, Beatrice, whatever.
Maybe Emiko turned around and cut her in the head or something.
Staggervore, Oliver will not get resurrected in some form. If we see him again,
I keep seeing people say that. I'm like, why would they do that?
He's gonna. If we see him again at all, he will be the Spectre. He will not be. Yeah. He won't be the Oliver Queen that we know.
Well, honestly, I don't know if anyone agrees with this. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if the closing shot is something to do with maybe Spectre like on Lian Yu or something like that, because we open with Lian Yu in the pilot,
right?
So it wouldn't surprise me if we close with something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the only thing I'm sort of like confused the hell about now is why is future Mia at the funeral? That doesn't make any sense now, given where the funeral is meant to line up. Because when I saw those premiere images, I was like, okay, at the end of Green Arrow and the Canaries, they all come back to present day, and that's why they're at the funeral. But now I don't know how it makes sense.
Because Mia, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You're right, especially right
unless she's taken back into the future and her memory's wiped.
Right. Which would be weird as well, because who would do that?
Yeah.
Like, which character would do that?
Is Oliver doing that? But is Oliver that desperate for his future daughter to be at his funeral?
Yeah, she would. I
don't know.
Yeah, she would have no reason to be, except for the fact that we know she's interacted with these characters this past couple seasons. But actually just this season. She's interacted with them like briefly this season. So, I'm so confused. Like, honestly, I feel like this last episode of Arrow has to make sense of some of these things because it just doesn't line up for me. Green Arrow and the Canary should have been a president. I agree with you 100%. I don't know how, like, having Mia come back to the present would have worked, but I think they want to keep the show split off from the rest of the Arrowverse. That's why I think, because if they kept the Mia character well, here's the thing though, they have a chair for her at the Super Friends Hall of Justice. And
no, let's not even reference that, because that's meant to be a memory of Oliver. If Mia sits down, Jesus Christ.
Will you lose your shit if that happens?
Well, I'll post that meme I posted of you going to the CW headquarters to delete the pilot. I'll delete every sort of anything in any sort of script revolving around Mia will be deleted. So the history of Mia as a character will be deleted, along with the Green Arrow and the Canaries pilot.
That chair is for Oliver in all caps. Oliver Queen.
Look, it's not going to be surprised. She's probably going to sit in it. Let's be completely honest, because it's Guggenheim. He seems to be in charge of all the crossovers now.
Susan Williams.
Oh God, that'd be hilarious.
Oh, that would be too funny. All right, so I think, I do want to address something. Somebody made a comment about Watchmen being canceled, and I see this being spun quite a bit. Watchmen wasn't canceled, okay? So let me try and explain this, because I know there's also a lot of these channels that are trying to do that as well because of the contents of the show. The creator of The Watchmen said that he felt like the story he wanted to tell was done in season 1, and that he would be okay with them continuing the show, but he wasn't going to be attached to it. HBO was 1,000% committed to bringing the show back for a second season. but he didn't want to do it. So I'm assuming they were in talks with him to make it happen. He didn't really want to be a part of it, so they said, fine, we'll just leave it at 1 season. So it was not canceled. It was a show that he had intended for it to be 1 season. It ran 1 season. HBO wanted more. He didn't want to do more, and that's it. The creator didn't want to do any more, so it wasn't canceled. And I know a lot of channels are spouting it off, and it's one of those annoying things to me.
Another thing I have to sort of say, though, is Damon Lindelof, who made it, like, for example, like I watched his last show, but I think it was his most recent show before Watchmen, which was The Leftovers. And there were massive gaps between those seasons. Like, I think season 2 is like over a year after season 1. So there's like a big gap between that. And then I think between season 2 and 3, there's like 2.5 years or something.
If you want your head to hurt, watch The Leftovers.
Yeah, Leftovers is like season 1's.
The last episode is quite awesome in terms of like what could be, but you're like really
season 2 and 3 are definitely the more like makes you think. Season 1 gets you thinking, but season 1's more of like a happening sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I won't spoil it because it's really good.
Yeah,
like if you want a show to
watch
binge,
it. Watch
you can binge that.
Binge Leftovers because I actually think it's better if you binge it because it makes more sense if you watch it that way.
Yeah, but like I think there was massive gaps in between those seasons, so he could do the same with Watchmen. Say he's not coming back, but in secret he's in the back writing it because it's a different type of show. Like that show would have taken a decent amount of time to write through, make sure everything makes sense and everything like that.
Anytime you're dealing with time travel or multiple Earths or multiple dimensions, you have to kind of sort of map it out. You have to.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. Mia has
about
about
like the
4
little
seasons
references
to earn that chair. It's too funny.
Oh God. I'm dreading it.
So, all right, guys, we're coming up on the 1.5 hour mark. This is normally where we end. We made it. Pagey's got to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Thank you for the super chats. Before you guys go, you've seen them in the chat with the badges. We do have a join feature for Team Airrick. If you guys want to become part of Team Airrick, click the join button, see if it works for you. There's unique badges that you'll get, and they change colors, I believe, chronologically. After you've been a member for so long, they change colors. There's also 2 videos up now. There is a behind the scenes video that I did for Team Airrick members, and there is a review for Watchmen Season 1 that's going on right now. There's going to be some early access stuff coming up soon. Yes, we're going to do dad jokes. Don't worry. There's going to be some early access stuff coming up, and we're going to be doing some reviews for other shows that I don't normally do because of demonetization that will go for my Team Airrick stuff. So if you're interested in doing that and helping support the channel in another way, the join button is there for you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And I just appreciate you being here and giving me likes and comments and thumbs up. So thank you guys for doing that as well. If you cannot do the join feature, I appreciate anything and everything and all the super chats. It's all awesome. You guys are great. So before we finish up the stream though, we have to do the dad jokes. I tell myself every week I'm going to have a dad joke ready to go for your dad joke, and then I never do. So I guess you have to do 2. Any? So you have to have 2. So let's do 2 dad jokes.
Okay. What's the? I guess it's sort of like a dad joke. It's a bit of a dark joke though as well.
Okay.
Why are orphans unable to play baseball?
I don't know.
They've never known what home is.
Oh, that is dark. That's dark. That is pretty hardcore. Is that even a joke, really? All right. Let's take it in here. Okay, to wrap it up, you have to give us a really, really good one here for this last dad joke. Come on. Let's do it.
Okay, how do you get to the hospital quickly?
I have no idea.
Don't know?
No.
Just stand in the middle of the road for a bit.
All right, you guys, that's it. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you, Pagey, for joining me. We will catch you guys next week. We're going to be talking about the Arrow finale. It's going to be an hour of an episode and an hour of other stuff. I don't know what that's going to include, but we definitely want to talk about it. So join us here next week for the after party. We hope to see you guys then. Team Airrick, go hit the join button if you can. If you're brand new to my channel and you're just catching this live stream, subscribe, turn on your notification bells, and that's it. I'll see you guys next week. See you later, Pagey.
Farewell.